Well, good day to you. It is June the 14th, and I hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. Now, if you are new to this channel, welcome. And let me introduce myself. My name is Gary Willing, and what do we talk about? Well, we talk about the emergence of Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom. We talk about why are the Masters returning now? Why is it important that they do so at this particular time? And, of course, what does it mean for you and everyone else that they're doing this? Now, if you are hearing this information for the first time, I do want to say something real quick. I put my name out at the beginning of each and every one of these videos for a few reasons, but I want to give you a brief history of this. When I started putting these videos up back in February of 2019, I debated whether to do that or not, whether to just use a YouTube channel name like so many people do. My family was not so keen on me using my full name for obvious reasons. But what happened was I was kind of thinking about it from two different angles. Like, if I was new to this information, never heard anything about it, and started hearing briefly about the masters, the miracles that we talk about, those kind of things, the priorities of the teacher and so forth, how long would I listen to these videos if it was coming from somebody who was using a YouTube channel name or left their name out of it? I might listen to it for a little bit, I guess. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But if I was new to it, I probably would have just turned it off and then gone on with my day and not really thought much of it. Now, then I started thinking, well, what would I do if I'd heard about it from somebody who was willing to put their full name out there? Willing. That is my real name. It's not a stage name. So no pun intended. But anyway, would I be willing to listen to it a little bit longer? Probably so. Doesn't mean I would necessarily believe it any more than I would if they were using a channel name, but it would give me someone to relate to, right? And that's the reason why I did it, really. I'm not doing it because I'm claiming ownership of this information. I know hundreds and hundreds of people who know this information, have known it longer than me probably, believe 100% in this information and so forth, know who Maitreya is, had experiences with the teacher in that way and so forth, just as I have. So, but, I did it so that if you're new to this, because I remember being new and just not believing it very much or not knowing enough to really trust it or not or whatever, it would be easier for me to listen to it if I knew who was saying it, right? And so that's the reason why I do it, right? I don't make any money off these videos. It's not my intention to make money off these videos. It's not my intention for you to even change your belief on this. But hopefully, and it is my hope that you look at this information, perhaps educate yourself about it, look at the links in the description that I put in each and every one of these videos, maybe even listen to another video or two or whatever. If you have a question about what we talk about, you can post your question as a comment. And you can do with this information for what it is, for whatever you want to do. Now, it is my hope that you look at it and educate yourself with it. It is my fondest hope that you start to look at what you can do to help solve the problems in the world and so forth, because it's going to take each and every one of us to do something about it, right? Now, my stick-to-itiveness with this information, because I've been talking about this information for decades, it's not so much coming from my belief in who I think Maitreya is, or even my own experiences with Maitreya that are quite extraordinary. It's not so much that. It's the fact that I want for the world what he's advocating for the world. I want peace. I want a future for not only my family and the future of my family, but for yours as well. I want this little planet called Earth to keep going on with life on it. You know what I mean? And I do believe that it's going to take peace in order to do that. Now, the things that we talk about, whether it's the miracles that have been going on or the strange phenomena, if you'd rather use that term, doesn't matter. There's just words. But healing waters, crosses of light, crop circles, the Hindu milk miracle, UFO sightings, people being saved by accident from angels and so forth, are happening to every single religious group and those people within those groups. And, of course, people who have no particular religious faith. And I like to propose this as a hypothesis for you to think about. If these phenomena are happening to every single religious group and the people within those groups and people of no particular religious faith, And by and large, they're leaving people with a greater sense of hope than it is true to say the hope for mankind is for all of mankind. So if you investigate this information for yourself, educate yourself on these miracles, see what I'm saying is true, see the images of these miracles. At the beginning and at the end of each and every one of my videos, I have images of some of the miracles. Not all of them, but some of them, to get you going. You can Google this information and see that what I'm saying is there's truth to it, right? So hopefully you'll start to go, maybe we are one. I've heard that before, but I've never heard somebody present it from the standpoint that there's actual evidence that's pointing to the fact that we are one, right? Now, if you look at it from another perspective, right? The problems that are facing each and every one of us, right? Whether it's the environment, social injustice, political divisions, economic divisions, of course, extreme poverty maybe, starvation, war, crime, terrorism, those kind of things, mass diseases and so forth. These problems that are facing humanity are also evidence that we are one because they're affecting each and every one of us, whether it's directly like the environment or indirectly like perhaps terrorism or starvation, right? But they're affecting us. Now, it's also going to take each and every one of us doing something about it to solve those problems. And then it's also, if we don't solve those problems, such as the environment, such as extreme poverty, it's going to be very, very bad for each and every one of us. So it's true to say, and if you step back and look at it from this perspective, you might see it too, is it's true to say that the problems are also showing humanity that we are one. Now, if you take this information even just a step further than that, right, there is hope within the problem. And that hope is the fact that it is showing us that we are one, I think, right? That we cause the problem, we can solve the problem, right? But what we talk about on this channel, what kind of gives it a little bit of a twist, right, is that the teacher who made a promise to each one of these religious groups eons ago is back now. And, I have my own personal evidence that this is true based on my own personal experiences with the teacher. You might have not, that's not so important, but those miracles that you see are also evidence that the teacher is back now. But even if you don't believe that, just listen to what he's saying, okay? But there's so much truth into what he's saying, is without sharing there could be no justice, without justice there could be no peace, and without peace there could be no future. It's important for each and every one of us to set aside our differences, whether it's religious, political, ideological differences on whatever level, nationality differences, racial differences, and start to come together as one people to look at this. Our future depends on whether we create peace or not. Now, that saying, without sharing there could be no justice, without justice there could be no peace, without peace there could be no future. If you say it with focused intention in mind, you will start to feel something in your heart. Something will start to wake up in your heart if you have a heart, and it'll warm you up in a way because it's a mantra. It's a mantra because it's pointing to the truth that's latent within the hearts of all of humanity. That longing for oneness and unity. It starts with the principle of sharing. We have to, as a people, look at this. So don't look at this from a religious standpoint if you can. Try not to. Look at it from that standpoint. We are one. We are one family. It's important that we start to manifest this. And then lastly, I'll leave you with this. Are we going to manifest unity through the principle of sharing, perhaps, in order to create peace, to give ourselves a future? Well, the teacher says, yes, all will be well. All manner of things will be well. So the reason why I keep talking about this is not for financial gain, not for personal recognition. Believe me, it's for the importance of a future for each and every one of us. I want for the world what Maitreya has said that we need. We need peace. We need justice. We need to end hunger, and that we can do it. There's hope that we can do it. But we have to put aside our differences and do that. So hopefully you'll educate yourself on this information, perhaps a little bit more. Look at this from that standpoint, not from the fact that I'm trying to change your religious beliefs. Got it? Okay, good. Now, if you have a question you'd like to ask about this information, post your question as a comment, and I will try my best to answer it in the next video. And I hope that you listen to this video all the way through. If you don't want to hear the question and answer portion, skip to the last few minutes of this video where I'm going to read a message from Maitreya that he gave out through Benjamin Creme right before Benjamin Creme passed away. And anyway, hopefully you'll listen to it because it's a very hopeful message. All right, now the first question comes from Benjamin. All about the Benjamins. If you consider Jesus the Messiah of the Old Testament prophecy, don't you think the Messiah that fulfills the prophecy of this age will do it in a way that is unexpected or unpredictable? Wouldn't you consider Jesus as a Messiah to be a twist? They probably expected a warrior to defeat the Romans and be king. What unexpected twist will this prophecy bring? Maybe it's best to not predict everything. Well, Benjamin, in the world of agreement and disagreement, I have to say I agree 100% with what you're saying. Was Jesus the predicted Messiah from the Old Testament? Absolutely. He was the world teacher for the then new age of Pisces, the one that we're ending and we're moving into a new age. It's unbeknownst to humanity, it's a cosmic law that a teacher of his stature or higher would come back and teach humanity the way forward at the beginning of each and every one of these new ages. And, historically, we don't have a lot of written history prior to the Bible, right? But historically, if we would look back, every 2,000 or so years when humanity enters a new cosmic cycle or a new cosmic age, a teacher came forward and taught humanity the way forward. The last age of Pisces was no exception to that rule, but Jesus was the world teacher for that age. Prior to that, Gautama Buddha was the world teacher for that age. There was Rama, Mithra, Zoroaster, even Hercules. I know there's the myth of Hercules, but Hercules was actually he was a world teacher during his time and so forth, and gave stories and parables which eventually became myths, such as the killing of the seven-headed Hydra, which was a myth, but was based on the teachings that he gave about overcoming fear and so forth, and how to overcome fear not by restricting it or suppressing it or psychoanalyzing it per se, but by bringing it into the light of the soul. That's the only way to overcome fear. But anyway, but it was always a very, very advanced disciple that came out and taught humanity. This age, for a long time, it was thought that the masters would have to come back another 1,000 years from now. So there was a disciple that was being trained, just as Jesus was trained, to be the world teacher for this age. We're lucky enough because we can actually watch his videos and a lot of his talks and audio, talks on radio and so forth. But there's videos of him. His name is Krishnamurti. I actually have a link in the description where you can actually watch some of his videos. He was being trained to be the world teacher for this upcoming age. That plan was scrapped, and this answers the question that we talked about in the very beginning of this video. Why is it important that these masters are coming back now? Is the masters and the teacher, Maitreya, who's the head of all these masters, saw that if they did not come back at this particular time, that it was not only a strong likelihood, but humanity would eventually destroy itself because we had the capability to do so. So Maitreya made the announcement in June of 1945 through Alice Bailey that he would have to come back. But humanity would have to do three things. Okay, so he can't just come back as all the religious groups think that he is going to come back. In fact, if you listen to this video all the way through, I'll give you a little spoiler alert about this because I'm going to spoil a little bit of it. But Maitreya even says in this message that I'm about to read that there are certain laws that govern his emergence, right? Well, three things humanity had to do. Okay, so humanity's free will is sacrosanct to not only the teacher, but to each one of these masters. So Maitreya needed humanity to do three things before he could come back. Okay, he made this announcement in 1945. Humanity had to create a measure of peace. Didn't have to be perfect, but there had to be a measure of peace. the principle of sharing had to start to govern the minds of some of the world leaders of that time. And the political houses around the world and the political parties had to start to clean house. Now, these things didn't have to be perfect, but there had to be a measure of those in order for him to come back. And of course, humanity did those three things. And then right before Maitreya came out into the world, 5 masters that were living in very, very remote areas of the world slipped into 5 major cities. The first one went into New York, then into London, Geneva, Darjeeling, and then eventually Tokyo, excuse me. And then Maitreya slipped into London on July 19th, 1977. And then 2 more masters entered 2 other cities. One went into Rome, which is the Master Jesus, and then one went into Moscow. And then since then, there have been a handful of other masters who have entered other cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Paris, Beijing, and so forth. And then, so these masters are not going to announce themselves in any way, shape, or form. They're really hidden amongst the population of those huge cities. But after Maitreya is out, known for who he is, after he declares himself as the one awaited by all the world's religions and so forth on the day of declaration, he will start to introduce these masters one by one. Now, Maitreya is the world teacher. He was the world teacher for the age of Pisces, and he'll be the world teacher for this upcoming age, but he worked through Jesus 2,000 years ago. Just as the Buddha, who is another master, was the world teacher for that time, worked through Gautama Buddha, and Gautama Buddha then became the world teacher for that age of Aries and so forth. So, but now and into the future, these masters will teach humanity directly, so they won't have to have a advanced disciple like Jesus or Gautama Buddha or Muhammad or Krishna to do the teaching for them. They will do it themselves. So, now is it unpredictable and unexpected? Of course. I'm just stick around these and listen to these videos. You'll hear just how unpredictable it is for most people that the teacher came back in the way that he did. Maitreya recently, and Jesus even 2,000 years ago, did certain things that predicted that fulfilled the man-made prophecy. Such as, for instance, the man-made prophecy that the Christ would return back from the clouds is not a divine prophecy. It was devised and came up by man. Now, he fulfilled that prophecy not in a way that was expected by the Christians to come up with the clouds opening up and he comes with a host of angels. He actually came quite unexpectedly, right, via an airplane. And so he came through the clouds along with 200 and something other passengers, a few pilots, and some flight attendants. And so that's how he fulfilled that prophecy. Of course, that's the reason why nobody knew what happened on July 19th, 1977, but he did it in order to fulfill that prophecy. Other prophecies that are in the Bible are actually of divine origin, but that was not one of them. Just as you talked about it in yours, where the prophecy that the Messiah would ride into Jerusalem on a horse, that was a man-made prophecy. Jesus fulfilled that prophecy in a way by riding on a donkey that he borrowed, quite unexpectedly, of course. That's the reason why they missed him as the Messiah. That's the reason why people are missing the teacher now, even on TV, speaking in the way that he is, right? Because he doesn't fulfill the expectations that people had in their mind of their awaited teacher. He fulfills the promise, but not the expectation. All right. Let's see. Wouldn't you consider Jesus as the Messiah to be a twist? Well, he was the Messiah. He's one of the masters now. And when you see him, you can ask him, and he'll explain it the way that only Jesus can explain the truth of what you're asking. So, let's see. What unexpected twist will the prophecy bring? Well, we talk about it all the time. And we're living in a world that is not thinking that the teacher is back already. They think that, for most, especially the Christians, I'm more familiar with their viewpoint, the Christ will come back at the end of the world. Well, he's not coming back at the end of the world. He's coming back at the end of an age, and a beginning of another age, right? So the unexpected twist is he's also not coming back alone. He's coming back along with some group of very wise and what we would consider to be perfected members of humanity called Masters of Wisdom. in order to teach humanity the way forward. So he's, like I said, I agree with everything you said 100%. So anyway, thank you for that. All right, now the next question I'll answer very briefly because it is kind of off topic, but I think it's kind of funny. It says, because he's talking about, it's in reference to what I talked about in the last video, where I mentioned that I was a musician. I used to play full time. I wanted this bass. I got this bass built for me by a luthier in New York. It's called a Sadowski bass. It was my dream bass. I wanted it ever since I was in high school and so forth, because all the bass players that I loved and listened to played this bass guitar and so forth. And it was everyone's handmade. Now you can buy them in some stores, but at the time that I bought it, you couldn't even buy it in the stores. You had to buy it directly from him. So it took some months to get built. Well, in 2001, he called me and said, "Hey, your bass is ready." And so I was going to fly up to New York on September the 10th, 2001. You know where this is leading. And fly out of New York on September 11th, 2001. That was my plan. Now, what stopped me from purchasing the ticket was I was eavesdropping on a conversation that Benjamin Creme was having with a friend of mine during lunch at a conference that I was at in San Francisco in August of that year, when he told my friend Phyllis not to fly. It would be best for her not to fly in September of that year, because I think she and her partner were going to fly to Europe. And he said it'd be best not to do that. Right? He never said why, or at least I never heard why. So when I was about to purchase a ticket to fly to New York, I was like, I better not. So I didn't. So anyway, thankfully I didn't, or I'd have been stuck up in New York, or even worse, I would have been caught in that mess, because the man who I was going to get the bass from was not too far from the World Trade Center and so forth. So, but yes, I was a bassist. I used to play music for years. I played full time. I toured at one time, and I have actually, to tie it into this information, I have a couple stories when Maitreya, related to my music and with Maitreya, on my Maitreya experiences. One quite pronounced was when he put graffiti on a phone booth here in Atlanta, using the same symbols, peace, heart, and a happy face, the same symbols I used when I signed my name in Japan, while I was on tour in Japan playing music. Quite extraordinary. And the other time when he sat down and talked to me for an hour, not only about music, but about life in general, about different things, about the need to end hunger and so forth. And then we started talking about artwork for the rest of the time, and he encouraged me to start painting, which I eventually did. And the reason why I don't play music that much anymore is because my artistic focus has been basically on painting. It changed my life. So anyway, but yes, I did. And it's funny that you said one of your favorite bass players was Steve Harris of Iron Maiden for decades. That's funny. It's a good. I mean, I wasn't an Iron Maiden fan. I liked heavy metal, but I for some reason I never really particularly cared for Iron Maiden that much. I'm sorry. I know, like I said, a lot of people liked it. I liked their T-shirts that they had out there. I was more of a Van Halen fan, actually, and then eventually became more of a jazz musician. But I think it's quite extraordinary and extraordinarily hilarious that you commented on me playing bass, but also that you play bass is nice to know too. So thanks, David, for that. All right, now without further ado, let's read from A Master Speaks. But there's a message I want to read from Maitreya. Hopefully it will give you a greater sense of hope and that kind of thing. So anyway, but it was given through Benjamin Creme when he was doing a radio interview in Paris on March the 27th, 2008. And I'll leave the video with this. So anyway, if you listen to it all the way through, have a great day, and we'll look forward to putting up videos in the future. But anyway, here we go. This is a message from Maitreya. I am close to you indeed, my friends. I am so near to you that you have but little time to wait to see me. Many of you have been very patient, but the timing of my approach to you and the world is governed by many laws, and I come at the earliest possible moment. Look for me then, sooner than you think possible. Perhaps not tomorrow, or next week, or even next month, but very, very soon. My heart is filled with the urge to complete this great endeavor. This will need the assistance of all who love their fellow men. Men must save the world which ails badly. My masters and I will show the way to do so. It gladdens our hearts to see the start already made by the ordinary people of the world. It is to them I speak now. Raise your voices. Tell the world your needs, your need for peace, your need for justice and freedom, the need for all people to live in harmony, no matter the religion, the color, the race. All men are essentially one. They are my brothers, and I love each one. My blessing of love flows to you all. Until soon, my friends. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.